interception. Guido Rosso.
What a remarkable drive, man. That's an All-American drive right here.
It's not exactly unwarranted. Like, when you have a guy that's that electric.
The legend himself, the GOAT, Dre Crowell.
Where my warm bottle movement at?
That kills your argument right there. Anything can happen. This game is not over.
What's good, Relocation Football League fans? It's your boy Smitty, and I'm solo dolo today, man. Your boys Rob and Bill, man, they got a lot going on right now. Shout out to Bill, man. His sister's having a birthday, celebrating with her, turning up, on a Wednesday, out of a day, but hey, turn up for your siblings, right? And then we got Rob, of course. He's doing a lot. We'll talk more about, the new changes that's going to be coming soon in the future. But it's your boy, Smitty, commissioner of the RFL, and I'm ready to go ahead and do this podcast solo dolo for you guys, like good old times. But also, I know you guys are probably going to hate on the gear. See, I got the Steelers gear on. But guess what, man? I rep my squad. There's a lot of you guys out here, man, that be fraud and acting like you a real team, a team fan, like you a real fan out here. Y'all probably Patriots fans because they used to be like that with Tom Brady. I bet not a lot of y'all are Patriots fans now. Probably Bucks fans and all that crap. Anyway, you know how I rock. Let's get to the recaps because this was a crazy week, y'all. This was a crazy week. Let me move this around because I'm trying to have it where I'm looking center as I'm looking at other things. I don't want to be looking like I'm looking at a whole bunch of other stuff here. All right, here we go. Bang. All right, so first game of the week. We had LSU versus Georgia. And you guys remember, everybody was salty. If you was a Georgia fan, if you was on the Georgia team, you took your first L, lost to South Carolina last week. After the L, everyone expected, Georgia from number 2, they're going to fall a couple slots. They probably going to be still in the top 5, probably going to go to 26. I said 26. Definitely don't want to be 26 if you're not ranked. Maybe going to go to 6, I meant to say. And these guys dropped all the way to 11. They were 4th in the SEC conference because of that loss, starting out 0-1. So that was a rough outing last week for Georgia. This was just a week ago. And as for LSU, this is the same team that lost to South Carolina as well. Both of these teams coming into this matchup with one loss on the season. They were both 2-1. Somebody had to take the L, but LSU was actually placed above Georgia before this game. So for just recapping and letting guys know, LSU was above Georgia for this game, and Georgia was looking for payback. They were looking for that bounce back game, man. They just lost their 17-0 streak, and they had just lost from number 1 in the conference to number 4, and LSU's in the way. So they have home field advantage. They take on the LSU Tigers. And, Georgia looked like we expected them to look. They looked a lot better this week. South Carolina, they still cut it close, but, South Carolina was bringing it to those boys. And, LSU, they've been struggling this season. But Georgia, those boys, they came out ready to play. And they were able to put a pretty good beat down on the LSU Tigers, man. 23-10 ended up being the final score. It looked really bad. And I also felt like Georgia, they had a lot of big explosive plays. Kind of felt like the way they were playing, you would have thought they would have put more than 23 points in this game. But still, for the most part, they just looked truly dominant throughout this game. I think it was like 23-3 for the longest. And LSU was finally able to score a little something there towards the end. But, Dallas Kopasik continues to struggle here for LSU. I mean, look at the statistics. 2 interceptions. Got the 1 touchdown. 26-39, 241. Still not getting it done. He's got the targets. And since I'm going to be here solo, I'm going to be breaking down even more into these games and these teams individually. Look, Ryan Kopasik has the targets. Brian Hagan, that's their tight end. They got, I'm already blanking on my man. Gambino, Raven Gambino, big time 6'5" plus target. He's tall. Get this guy the ball. He can moss people. He can make catches. He can run routes. That's a beast. You even got a 3rd string wide receiver out here, Raymond Gordon, who leads in this game with 7 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. I'm going to let you guys know right now, man, don't sleep on Raymond Gordon. he's looked really good to be a third string guy on this LSU team with a struggling quarterback right now. So I'll say keep a lookout for him. They managed to, turn Wayne Diesel more into, just Wayne WD-40, whatever you want to call it, some weak gas, So 65 yards off of 23 yards, they shut that down. There's sometimes he looked pretty decent, yeah. But, Georgia, their defense, extremely solid. They shut it down. Really like what I saw out of Tyree this week. This is a guy who continues with his short size to step up when, we felt the size was going to be an issue. And so far, it hasn't been. There's a couple things, probably like one or two times we've seen where he's tried to throw the ball and, it got deflected because of his height. But you're not seeing that often. What you are seeing out of AR is that Cyrus has been able to play some really good passes and has been able to be very, very productive and accurate. I think he's got the highest completion percentage out of all starting quarterbacks. We'll look at all the statistics on who's the stat leaders and everything, towards the end once I get past all these main topics. But he is up there right now. He's doing a great job. Has yet to throw an interception this season. I think he's up to 6 touchdowns. He's balling. And Tyree Bryant, man, this guy, he's a speed demon. I enjoy watching this guy play. He barely even has to touch the rock. And he's just so fast. You can throw a screen his way, a slant, anything. This guy can crib it. He's just that fast, and teams got to keep him in front of him. And for LSU, the Tigers, let's bell these boys, man. They couldn't do that. 117 yards, 2 touchdowns for Tyree Bryant. Boy was balling. But let's also hand a bell out to Georgia for one thing. And I'm gonna be at your neck, my boy. I'm gonna call you JB right now. Man, Jakari is best. Let's play a bell for him. I was talking about this with Bill when he was on the podcast, and he had that one electric game back in week 2 over $140. I thought he did a great job on the ground, running the football and that. But what I saw from the week before that, the first week of the season, I was like, I don't know what it is. It just seems like this kid tries to do too much. He tries to hit juke moves when it's unnecessary. They got lanes there. I think there was one time even in this game where there was a pitch and all he had to do was just keep outside. He tries to juke back into where the traffic's at and it goes for pretty much nothing. So, there's a lot of that I'm seeing from this kid. And I really feel like Georgia can prove to be even more dominant than, what they were in this game and just in this series if Jakarius Best can get in a rhythm and just, be a consistent running back for this Bulldogs team. If they can get Jakarius Best to get on his game, and it's not just Jakarius Best, he's messed up quite a few lanes, yes, but it's also the offensive line. Granted, the offensive line of Georgia, they do a pretty good job of blocking. They do a pretty good job of blocking when it comes to passing the football. There's a lot of times when you can see in the games that Cyrus has got a lot of time in the pocket. So they do a great job in pass blocking. Where they don't do a great job, or at least hasn't been consistent enough for my liking, is in the run game. Even though Best, like I said, screws up some of his opportunities, the offensive line sometimes doesn't give him opportunities, and he's tackled in the backfield. So I really feel like Georgia, dominant team, dominant performance, great game, great win. And this is going to help you in the SEC. Every conference game, and Cyrus himself talked about this, in his own little podcast and within the Discord. It's a great win. It's a great win there to be in the SEC. Every game is important, but this is a team, like I said, if they could get that run game going, these guys are going to be virtually unstoppable as they were a year ago. The defense is great. The pass game is great. All you need is a run game now. And Georgia would be back on top of the world. And we'll see where these guys land. Of course, I got the top 25 rankings for you guys. I'll let you guys know. There's going to be some times where I will take some breaks too, just to go and read some of your comments because I know that I'm here by myself. But I'm giving my my real takes on this. The following game, we had North Carolina versus Penn State. Let me see. Say loving the in-depth analysis. Yeah, I'm gonna break these down for you guys, man. I'm really gonna go into depth how I felt about the game, how I feel about each team individually up to this week, and where I felt teams could have did better, where they have been doing better, and things like that. But let's go ahead and get a look at this North Carolina Penn State game. Now, I wanted to work on highlights like for each individual game, since most likely I kind of knew I was going to be here by myself. But I exported all the videos, man. But I just don't have them cut up individually, and I was not able to get it in before the podcast. So it would have been, at least more things to look at. But at the end of the day, all you guys are here is to, hear what's going on. That's what a podcast is all about. So looking at this game, North Carolina kind of squeaks out on Penn State. And if you were watching this game, Penn State, they kind of had themselves a pretty decent lead a little bit at first. It wasn't nothing serious, but I think it was like 10-3. They jumped out to a pretty good start. You saw North Carolina come back. They made it, I believe it was 13-10 at that point, and they were holding for a while at that score. And then Penn State scored again. And before you know it, it's 17-13 Penn State. Oh, they're looking pretty solid. But honestly, when you look at these statistics, it was a struggle, man. It was a defensive struggle, but more so for Penn State. I mean, Yuki, you know the phrase, man. Y'all know the phrase, man. Yuki was looking a little bit like Dookie, man. Under 200 yards, 197 yards. But do I fault Yuki all the way? I'm not going to say it's all the way his fault. I just think North Carolina's defense is the truth, man. They are the truth, especially their DNs. I really love the way that they just play football, man. They're just a real hard-nosed defense, tough to move the ball on. They're going to smack you. You got big hitters, and it's hard to come across yards. And it was the case for Penn State. It was tough for Euro Winbush, which actually was a huge shock to me because, Euro Winbush has looked pretty solid. I still feel he's a little bit inconsistent, but for the most part, he still gives you some pretty solid games for Penn State. But I wasn't expecting a 17 carries, 22 yards performance in this game. I kind of felt like, although North Carolina has been extremely dominant, and, on the defensive side of the ball, even their losses has been tough for other teams. Their one loss, it was tough for them to win that one, which, came down to the wire and everything. I'm talking more so about Baylor, though. That one was the most defensive and real close game, that 17-11 game. But Penn State, they kept them at bay. But I'm also still seeing the struggles of the offense of North Carolina, man. I like everything else. The offense is struggling. And, you would look at this, man, 3 touchdowns, 384 yards for McCain, 167 yards on the ground for Elijah Swan, who, by the way, I feel is like probably one of the top backs right now. That was a crazy performance. But, that all looks good, but look at 3 interceptions. Do you know how many interceptions McCain's got already in just 4 games this season? I'll wait. Just know it's not a single-digit number. He hasn't even played double-digit games, and he's got 10 interceptions. He still looks solid. Despite the 3 interceptions, I still think he had a good performance, but the interceptions are flat-out killing McCain and the North Carolina Tar Heels. This game, honestly, without those interceptions, probably shouldn't even have been close. So, when you think about that, McCain, yes, this was still a solid game for him. He threw 51 times. So, yeah, you're going to have mistakes if you're throwing the ball that much. But 10 interceptions in 4 weeks still tells me that your quarterback is having an issue with throwing the ball to the right jerseys. So, McCain, he started out a lot of interceptions, I think this makes 3. This is his 3rd game that he's thrown 3 interceptions. 3 out of 4 games he's thrown 3 interceptions. That's tough. I really would like to see this kid be a lot more aware and consistent and throw the ball away if you don't see anything there. I think, he's got a lot of faith in his wide receivers, which he's got some good ones, Bo Slauson, great tight end, and Peyton Cash. But I still feel like, there's a lot of plays that he's just simply leaving off the board that they can make. And it's coming down to him trying to make a play when it's obviously over. Nothing's gonna transpire from you throwing in the triple coverage down the field. Or waiting, trying to see that you don't see anything and you're trying to throw like a hook route and you're late throwing a hook route. Most quarterbacks should know by now in this series, if a hook route is ran, you got to throw that immediately. You really can't wait on the hook route. There's been a lot of hook routes jumped this season and picked off. And, McCain's been, a part of that. But like I said, I really like everything else North Carolina did pretty much in this game. I still feel like their defense, very solid. Elijah Swan's a beast. I think he's one of the most shiftiest running backs this series, man. He puts on some nasty moves, and we got some pretty shifty running backs this year. But a good performance by North Carolina. And, just a tough one for Penn State. Weren't expected to win this game. But, even though they weren't expected to win this game, I just don't like the yardage. You got to have more in you than 22 yards from your starting running back and less than 200 yards through the air. My problems with Penn State, I just feel like, sometimes they're stagnant. And most of the time, sometimes you see it comes from Yuki. So that's pretty much all I got to say about these two ball squads. I mean, 2-2 is not bad in the first 4 weeks for Penn State. 4 more games, you're bowl eligible. That's kind of what matters if you know you're not going to be a playoff team. And North Carolina's pushing to be a playoff team. So this is a very solid dub, for North Carolina to keep it going as they should have won. Moving on to the next game, we have Florida State versus Louisville. Now, breaking down this game, man, I think this was probably one of the most sloppiest games. There's like 6 turnovers in this game, three apiece. And you can see one of them right here on the poster. My boy, I think that's Buttle. I'm not exactly sure what his name. He's not a prospect anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the hit stick, fumble. You've seen a lot of fumbles in this game. I think Amari Bone even fumbled in this game. And speaking of Amari Bone, he's close still to 100 yards in this game, but 27 carries. 97 yards. To me, Louisville shut him down. This is a guy who's rushing for over 100 yards every game, killing it. And I understand it was, rain games are terrible. Usually in RFL, you see a lot of teams just not perform well in rain. A lot of mistakes, as we saw here, fumbles, missed passes, and things of that nature. But, Amari Bone really kind of struggled. Got back into it a little bit towards the second half, but, Louisville was shutting him down. He was the sole focus. And you know why Louisville was mainly able to do this? Was because Will Stern, the quarterback for Florida State, he's a generic. He's not submitted. He's not no special quarterback or anything of that nature. But this guy just survives week to week. You don't really see big games from Will Stern. You know from watching Florida State games, if you've been paying attention, that he is not a quarterback that can take control of a game and finish with the dub. Because honestly, they had an opportunity. Had an opportunity to do this. He threw the one interception, which was tough. And they lose by 3. It's still a very close game. Very sloppy, but close game. A game still I felt like if the passing game was there more so for Florida State, they probably win this game. But Louisville, let's not sleep on this team, because Louisville has put together some pretty solid wins. Opened up the week against Tennessee, beat them 33-27. You guys unfortunately didn't get to see that because for whatever reason, YouTube didn't save the game. So let's bell YouTube for that. But the guy, Jackson Dowman, he's been solid. He's been extremely solid for Louisville. They knocked off Iowa in week 2. They took their first loss in week 3. But, and that was against North Carolina, a stacked team. And they were still pretty close in that. It was ugly a little bit for them, but they were still pretty close in that. Only lost by 14. Final score was 28-14 in that game. So when you look at Louisville, you wouldn't think that this team would be that great because, it's Louisville. A lot of guys don't expect them to be that great. They're probably a solid team, probably at best get bowl eligible with 6 wins or something. But, 3-1. That's a great start for Louisville. And this is a school that nobody chose to go to. Mike Jackson apparently is still here. I got to change his name because he didn't check in. So he's going to be checking out. But Mike Jackson, he's been balling. Too bad for that guy, man. Let's get a bell for Jackson, man. Let's get a bell for Jackson. That's tough, man. There's quite a few players in this series that were submitted. And guys just didn't pay attention to him, didn't check in or anything. And now lost. He could have been one of the top prospects possibly. But yeah, Louisville without prospects is prospering. So I really like what I'm seeing. You got guys like, I don't even know who this Felton guy is. You know, we didn't see him really pop up on the scenes any prior weeks. Guy had 7 catches for 123 yards. You know, balling out. I mean, these are unknowns out here killing. And the defense is doing a very solid job as well. I mean, to hold Amari Bone, I mean, it's still 97 yards, still decent, but that's still a pretty low average. That's pretty much 3 yards. That's in the 3 yard per carry range. So since it's in the 3 yard per carry range, you know, they did their job. This guy was averaging like 5. So that's pretty much what I can say. Florida State, they need to develop a pass game with Will Stern, or do something to at least keep it to where the pass game can be, in a sense, respectable. He doesn't seem to be the guy who's going to be able to stretch the ball down the field. You might need to go just throw the short passes, little drags, little slants, things like that. And then you keep the pass game going. Give Amari Bone a little bit of a breather from time to time. And before you know it, you know, you got an offense that's probably doing a little bit more than they did in this game. And as for Louisville, you know, I just think they played lights out. I think they just need to continue to do what they've been doing this season. So it's been great for them. All right. Next game, Wisconsin versus Washington. Let's get a bell for my man, Bill. Billy Bell, man. You know, I guess it's a good thing he did not show up for this podcast, because his Badgers are 0-4. What'd you guys call him in the chat? Stink Badgers or whatever. I'll be coming at Bill's Badgers, but rightfully so. I mean, 0-4 here, Washington. And Bill was talking all this noise about how he felt Wisconsin was better than Washington. And I said, and we had a whole like 15-minute debate, at least what Mitch said. I thought it was like 5, maybe 10, but 15 minutes. We debated for literally the 30 and 31st spot in the top 25 rankings, which means they weren't ranked anyway. But I said, yo, Washington's better than Wisconsin. And I'm not saying that just because, you know, to get at you because you like the Badgers. I'm saying that because if you watch the games, Washington has been a very competitive team. And if you watched last week, what Washington was able to do, I understand Auburn is 0-4, but them Huskies punched on them Tigers, man. They turned out to be the bigger cats. They destroyed Auburn 34-16. That's more than twice the score they had. So when you think about that, I mean, it's still Auburn, man. I mean, I don't their roster, for whatever reason, is just average this year, but like it's still Auburn. It's a solid team, and they doubled up, plus them last week. Wisconsin, yeah, they had a little hang in there fight with TCU, you know, but TCU was, let's keep it 100, man. TCU was trash, you know, the first 2 weeks. TCU was trash first 2 weeks. Got their dub, and it kind of showed, you know, TCU won by 3 points off a field goal, 37-34. But I'm gonna tell you this, TCU, they're surviving because of their passing game. They probably got the best wide receivers. Probably got the best wide receiver duo in the college series, and that boy Diotis is slinging that thing. We'll talk more about them when that comes up. But Washington goes in this game. This was another sloppy game, and the reason why it was a sloppy game, once again, in the rain, and it was just like the Florida State Louisville game. I remember recording this, and I was just like, man, another rain game. This is probably gonna be awful. You got 2 awful teams in awful conditions. I just knew this game was not going to turn out to be good, and it didn't. You know, 17-9. That's probably one of the most boring games. You know, if anybody had real life tickets to this, you know, I probably would have walked out at halftime, already knowing that Washington was going to win. But you know, 2 touchdowns total in this game. Wisconsin didn't score any points. What's going on, Avenger? Thor, we need you throwing some touchdowns out there, man. Spark us up. Supposed to spark this offense up, man. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be king of the thunder or whatever it is. And you out here, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions? I said interceptions like there's more than one, but 1 interception and 27-49. I don't know. There's a lot of passes, close to 300 yards, but you're not sparking nothing up, bro. You're not sparking anything up. You know, Brian Landry's, He definitely hasn't been really consistent in the run game. Had a nice little week last week. But 58 yards, it's not bad. It's close to a 3. Probably is a 3-yard per carry average. But that's not getting it done, especially when your quarterback's. But I'll tell you one thing. There's only one bright spot for Wisconsin, and that is their tight end. And Coach Back's going to be screaming in the chat. He's excited. His son's playing for the Wisconsin Badgers. The boy had 12 receptions for 145 yards. He was eating. Definitely, if you had to give a losing team a player of the game, it was definitely him. And he's a big body wide receiver, big body tight end, that can catch the ball in any situation. Got good hands, can run guys over and make those tough catches, block, all around tight end. And even with his presence, 3 field goals. That's all they could put on the board. That's not getting it done, man. That's not Badgers football. That's they need to find a way to spark up more. I think they got good receivers because their receivers sometimes come with some big catches. But I just feel they need to find a way to put it all together somewhere. Their defense has kind of been sus. But it was a great game, too, from generic quarterback Elliott here. You can see 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over. He's been a underrated game manager. Someone who's not going to wow you with his stats, but he's going to take care of the football, move your offense down the field. That's all you can ask for out of a quarterback. Brandon Haskins has been great. He didn't look too great statistically here, 24 carries for 62 yards, but he's been great up until this week. Helping the offense move the ball down the field. And you got Allen right there. It's pretty much an average day for Wisconsin. Somebody who took care of the ball better in the rain and came out on top with the dub. 8-point victory. That's all I can really say for these teams. I feel like, of course, Wisconsin struggling bad. Probably going to end up being one of the worst teams again. And as for Washington, I think they're kind of on the up and up. I mean, even though it's Wisconsin, you beat 2 back-to-back winless teams. But they were in some close games against the games that they lost as well. So I think this is a team to look out for when I'm not going to say they're going to be in the playoffs. I doubt they're going to be in the playoffs in the RFL College Series. I doubt it. But this could be a team that could end up in a bowl game. And rightfully so, because, like I said, they compete all the way till the end. All 4 quarters. These guys are competing. And this could be a team that could upset one of you guys. We've seen some upsets still happen this week, and we'll get to that, of course. How about UCLA getting a dub this week? We thought that wasn't going to happen. It did. But, yeah, that's all I can say about that. Watch out for Washington if you got them on your schedule. All right, moving on. Texas versus Maryland. All right, so this was a pretty good game. Jackson had his 2 touchdowns, an interception, the basic average game here. Texas, man, they look pretty good. King, still inconsistent with his play. He had an interception as well, the 1 touchdown, pretty basic day. I really liked what CJ Cooper was able to do in this game, man. There's been some times where statistically he's rushed for some pretty decent gains, but the problem has been that there's a lot of games where he starts off getting bottled up and then he starts exploding once the defense gets tired. I would like to see him actually jump out to hotter starts early, and that's what he did in this game against Maryland. Now, granted, Maryland doesn't have, has not been the best team. They're 1-3. You can see here on the graphic. They could be better. Definitely. They got some pretty solid running backs and stuff, and honestly, that boy Walker has been pretty solid. My bad if you guys heard that. Hold up. Let me go. Let me step away real fast. I'll be back. We good. Never mind. Seems like it's cool. Though somebody was yelling in the crib. But anyway. So back to this. The run game was great. Had over 100 rushing yards. And I think he earned all of that. He showed his ability to make guys miss. Hitting moves. Running well. And as for the tight end, shout out to Steve Johnson, man. He had himself a great game. I think he's been a pretty solid, consistent quarterback for Texas when they utilize him. So that's a big dub. It's a big dub. Great performance from him. And still, this Demarius Walker guy, I think he's a real life player. I don't believe he's he might be generic. I need to look into that. I still don't know who all the generics are. I just know I made most of them up to from quarterback to wide receiver, but I couldn't no, I didn't have the time to really mark down, who's what. But he's been balling, man. 4 catches, 131 yards. He had the one catch towards the end. It could have been a lot more ugly than what it was. Because honestly, the score, I believe, was 13-29. So they were able to at least get that last touchdown in with Walker. Their wide receivers, other than Walker, has still been inconsistent. And that's been the problem with Maryland. Deshaun Jackson at times has been inconsistent, making some bad reads. Sometimes he looks good. But, that's where that inconsistency comes in. I think he needs to play better football. And the offense will, get sparked up because, they have a pretty solid run game. You can see only 68 yards on the ground here for Barkley. But, he ran pretty well. That's still a good average. I mean, off 14 carries, 68 yards, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And, yeah, Texas walks out of this one 29-10. Let's move on to the next game, Florida versus Tennessee. Now, unfortunately, this game did not save, which sucks. I don't know what goes on with Tennessee, man. First game of the season, can't keep it. Well, we can't use it because it didn't record the whole thing, so nobody gets to see that footage. Took an L to Louisville, by the way, and they still take an L in another game here that gets lost as Florida walks out of this one 27-13. Florida looked pretty solid in this game. I really liked how Florida came out to play. The player I was more impressed with in this one was Chris Jones. Chris Jones threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. I'm going to have to check that. I put 0 interceptions here. I thought he threw 1. We'll check that when we go through the statistics. But I can't remember off the bat if he threw 1. Let me just check it anyway. So... oh, that's the wrong thing right there. We'll go check and see if he threw, because I'm pretty sure he probably didn't. But I just want to check just in case. Guys could probably hear the game and everything too. Oh no. All right, so Tennessee, Florida. Oh yeah, I can't. What am I doing? I can't even check this. The reason why I can't check this is because the game didn't save. So there's no point in me even going in there. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, I think I was pretty accurate on what I put here. So Chris Jones, no picks. Great day. 318 yards. I don't even know why I'm reading over these statistics because unfortunately these are not going to stick with these players. So what I will do and what I will show you guys, let me see if I could bring up the let's see here. Schedule. Okay, here we go. So we'll just hide this for now. All right, so did I write down what I saw? So pretty much, honestly, to be honest, it looks like this game was almost the exact same. I mean, the final score was 20-24. Oh, I can't even move the thing. Let me get it. All right, yeah. So the final score was 24-20. Florida won. Of course, we gave them the auto dub. And honestly, it wasn't too far off from the score. It was 27-13. They gave Tennessee an extra touchdown, gave USC one less field goal, made it closer. But, it's pretty much the same thing. He still had almost the same amount of yards. He had the same amount of touchdowns with no interceptions. So that turned out to be good. I think Slim threw an extra ento here. Well, that might have been the same. I can't switch between the graphics in which I had, but we'll look at that afterwards. The run games, yeah, they were shut down. It's pretty much the same result. JT Jordan didn't have touchdowns in that one. And Kirby balled out. Yeah, he was balling, but really it was Garcia, man. That sucks for Garcia. That's the only L that Florida's going to take for this since it didn't save. And I'll back out of this right now. Yeah, that's the only L they're going to take for this one is that it didn't save because their tight end was balling. Garcia, I mean, this guy is looking like a top-tier tight end for the draft. That's for sure. You can see he had 8 catches for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. Guy was eating. 2 of the 3 touchdowns Chris Jones was able to throw. The run games, like I said, for the most part, didn't really do too much. 85 yards is not bad. but he had 27 carries. So the average not looking all too great there. JT Jordan, like I said, didn't get in the end zone. He was shut down in the game. So everything pretty much panned out to be the exact same. And actually, Slim Duncan actually got saved from that sim because they gave him 2 interceptions instead of the 3 he actually threw in that. This is still a game you could go back and watch, of course. But, of course, those statistics will not be able to save. And, both of these teams will have to go based off of the statistics from the sim because we don't have all the statistics from the game that actually played. I went through it, but I just didn't go through everybody, so can't do that. So that's all I got to really say about that. I think Tennessee put up a pretty solid fight, but Florida, it looked a lot better. This was a team that, Florida, we thought they were going to be pretty bad this year. They beat Tennessee. Yeah, that's nothing special. They beat TCU when they were struggling. Beat them by 8. I think it was 37-29. Yeah, so, not bad, but, this is still a good win and a great performance. I think this is the best that Florida played. It's definitely the best, in my opinion, that I think Florida has played this season. And they need to keep that up to stay competitive in the SEC. Do I feel like this is going to be a team, once again, that goes to the playoffs? I'm not saying they can't. But looking at the rest of the SEC teams in the RFL College Series, I don't think so. But all you got to focus on, getting back to the bowl game like you did last year and doing the complete opposite, and that's not losing in it. So that's all I can say about that. Tennessee, 1-3, tough. Moving on, Oklahoma State finally gets their first win of the season, which is awesome. This is probably, we were saying in the past, since almost like week 2, about Oklahoma State. This is a team that lost by a total of a touchdown, 7 points in their first 3 games. And the first 2, they lost by 3. The last one, they lost by 1 from their extra point at the end of the game, scoring in the final seconds, getting blocked. So when you think about that, Oklahoma State has been an extremely competitive team. Arizona State at first was looking competitive. They put up a good battle against Oklahoma. They lost that game by 8. Put up a good battle against Oregon for a little bit, but then Oregon, really did some work on them with the comeback. Well, not more so with the comeback. I think I'm thinking about the wrong team there, but either way, there was times where Arizona State looked really solid. They looked really solid, and the last couple of weeks, no. Last couple of weeks, they did not look solid, man, at all. They got beat down. I think it was 32-13. Yeah, that was Oregon. That was Oregon that whooped up on them, 32-13. And then for this game, I don't think anyone was expecting Oklahoma State. Even though they've been a competitive team, we expected them to win. We did not expect these boys to blow out ASU like this. ASU almost looked like the other word. Repeat the second. It was tough. It was tough, man. 0-38. That's the first shutout of the series. I don't even know if we had a shutout last year. Did we have a shutout last year? I'm not exactly sure. I got to look back into that. But, it's hard to get shut out here in a college series. It's hard to get shut out in the RFL. Them boys got shut out. A lot of interceptions from Mr. Bird, man. He was letting those things fly, and he was getting picked off. And those were early. No touchdowns, 3 picks. And run game, 21 carries, 71 yards for Boston, and hell, he's been having a pretty solid game and all that. But this was a terrible game for Arizona State, man, and they're looking more like the worst team now in the college series. Oklahoma State was balling. These guys was balling. Turnovers, those 3 picks, of course, off of Bird. And Wilson, the guy came back. How many times was he killing the team with interceptions late in the game? 3 touchdowns. He still threw an interception, but only threw 1 interception, 360 yards through the air. And he and Roper were eating. Roper had over close to $140 on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, 33 carries. They fed my mans. And look at them. Repaid the favor, and they dominated. They absolutely dominated Arizona State. I think they need to keep with this same thing. They need to keep feeding Roper, and then they need to still minimize, Wilson from throwing a rock. Because I feel like a lot of times they're letting Wilson throw too much. And we've seen that teams that make their quarterback throw too much, whether they be, good guys great quarterback can get away with it from time to time. Most of the time they do. Average and poor quarterbacks cannot. And I don't feel like Wilson is a top tier talent right now. At least we don't know what the end result's going to be at the end of the college series when the RFL draft does come up. He's not even eligible, so I don't even know what I'm talking about with that for. So at the end of the day, he's not even going to be drafted. But he's one of those guys, in my opinion. I put him in the okay range, and I put him in okay because sometimes you see him sling the rock and make plays, but he makes the wrong decisions at the wrong time a lot of the time. And, he didn't do that here, took advantage of all the opportunities the defense gave him. Roper was doing his thing. He's been consistent, in my opinion, every week. So that's a running back to look out for. And Oklahoma State finally gets the win they deserve. And, I can honestly say, great dub, 38-0. Man, if I had the round of applause button right now on the OBS, I'll definitely play that. But that being said, let's go ahead, move on to the next game. Man, let's still give a shout out. Let's put hashtag OH in the chat, man. Let's get OH in the chat. Amari Harris, my boy, had 4 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown. What is going on with TCU's wide receivers? I think both of them lead the country, 1 and 2. We'll look at the statistics, but I think I looked at that. Number 1 and number 2 wide receiver is 1 and 2 in the nation in receiving yards. And these guys were trying to give heat to Deoda Speller. Look, if I was Amari, if I was, Shark Man, Shark Boy, I don't care. Throw the rock. Just throw the rock. Throw a pick if you got to. I mean, of course you want to win, but at the end of the day, the biggest result you want to have in the RFL is getting drafted. You want to get drafted. Deoda Speller is killing himself to get you guys drafted. It sucks for Deotis. It sucks, man. You just got to tone down those interceptions. And you kind of did that. You threw 1 interception in this game. So, round of applause for that. Congratulations on that. But only 1 touchdown. And it was a deep bomb to Amari Harris. And that was great. But what really turned the tide in this game, I really liked Javon Berryhill. Javon Berryhill made the difference. He made the difference in this game because I talked about, very inconsistent. There's been a lot of inconsistent play from quite a bit of guys. Hasn't been as consistent as last year's college series. So the talent, in my opinion, in some areas are better and good amount of areas are worse. But the run game with Javon Hill, bringing his presence, really added a lot and took a lot of pressure off of Deoda Speller. This guy usually throws about 50 times a game. He threw only 32. That's about an average. That's an average amount of passes in the game, just about. And Berryhill ran 24 times, 122 yards. That's a great game. With him, that's how they were able to lead the charge and upset Texas A&M in this game. The Aggies, I don't know what's been going on with Dubak, but Dubak, he's been getting shut down now lately. The last couple of weeks, under 100 yards. He still at times, can show he's explosive. But 21 carries, 71 yards. I mean, it's not too bad, but it's not what, guys are expecting out of Dubak the way he started the season. 2 back-to-back games like that, it starts to have you wonder, did the hot flame early in the season for Texas A&M just drop? And the quarterback, David Mayer, he had a read option for a touchdown in this game. I think it was one of their first touchdowns, and he threw 2 picks. He's not expected to be great anyway. He's a generic guy. And then Ferguson, generic wide receiver, 101 yards. But there's not really too much to say about Texas A&M. They started out really good. Their defense, I still think, is pretty solid. They kept them still pretty much in this game. And TCU, their aerial attack is just something serious. These 2 wide receivers are the real deal. Amari Harris and Devontrez Sharkley. And that's one of the most coolest names you probably can have, and that's his actual name. But these guys are eating. TCU's looking like the real deal. They just got a linebacker from transferring. Of course, a late transfer. He got a pass because he got skipped over, and that was Cyril Cox. And Cyril Cox, I didn't really see him make too much of an impact in his game, but at the end of the day, that's still helping out on defense. And Texas A&M falls short, 24-27. So great win by TCU. They're now on the hot train. Like I said, started out the season really rough, 0-2. They played some tough teams though. One of their losses is to Ohio State, who at the time was the #1 team in the country. So and they still got their last dub before this one, barely over Wisconsin. But they got it, and they just beat a pretty tough Texas A&M. So if you were a believer in TCU in the beginning of the season, I think, after this dub over a pretty solid Texas A&M team this year, you should still have a little bit of hope in these guys possibly getting where they were expected to be. Honestly, I never expected them to be in any conversations for playoffs. But I thought they would be a pretty solid team, should be able to get bowl eligible. But we'll find out. Good first 2 back-to-back wins for them. Iowa upsets Michigan here, and I believe that Michigan was just ranked higher than Iowa coming into this. Iowa's been a sleeper team, man, and your boy Rivers does it again, man. Elliott Rivers looking like Phillip Rivers in his prime. 4 touchdowns. He got the 1 interception, 372 yards. He was really great. You see he cooled down after his first big game to start the season, but against a Michigan team who's been solid this year, to have this type of performance, that's great. That is great. The run game, Latarius Batiste, that was his name last year. Leo Batiste, 27 carries, 110 yards. He's been a consistent running back for Iowa. I think that's another guy to look out for too. Weston's been great. You see, led in receiving yards, 8 receptions, 145 yards, a touchdown. Austin Briley, they had him looking, average in this game. And that's kind of how we all expected him to be with that 64 awareness. I don't think he played all the way bad in this game. He did all right. The pick was bad. But the guy to really shout out here is J.C. Johnson. J.C. Johnson had 3 touchdowns in this game. You can see from the running back stats, he had 2 on the ground, 23 carries for 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he caught one off a screen where he just bent to the outside and then burned the defense for 6. He had a phenomenal game. And I feel like for the most part, he was the offense. Nothing else was really vibing. And Iowa just were on fire all around. And they ended up, pulling out of this one with the upset, 31-26. With Iowa, I feel like, this is a team, once again, it's kind of like Washington, better than Washington, of course, in my opinion. A team that, once again, not expecting them to finish in the top 4 for playoffs, but this is a team that has the capability of upsetting just about anyone. And so, a big win. They got an upset right here over Michigan. And Michigan, this is a tough loss. This is a tough loss. This is a Big Ten conference opponent. We're starting to see a lot more of these conference games now pop up, and these are must-win games. You see how the top 25 fluctuates now since we're putting conference, standings into play with the rankings. So, to lose here to Iowa, a team that honestly were predicted and should have beat at home, that's tough. But you still got more, Big Ten games, but this could be a game to hurt them. At the end of the day, you want to be at least the second best team in the conference if you can't be the first, so that you guys can compete for, a conference championship. But good win for Iowa. Moving on. Let's play the bell early, man. That thing was late. But anyway, what happened to Stanford? Stanford was a pretty solid team. They've had some pretty good games. Man. They lost to Oregon, which was their first loss. They're pretty solid. Oregon's a pretty solid team, But UCLA, the Bruins, the team that we thought wasn't going to win a single game, not only do they win and upset Stanford, Mr. Burger hangs up a 41 burger piece on these boys. 41-27? Who expected this? Another bell. Get him out of here. What happened? What happened in this game? You let UCLA's quarterback not only win this game with 40 points, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, the boy won Offensive Player of the Week. You let Derek Berger win Offensive Player of the Week. I don't know what happened to Stanford in this game, man. But that wasn't it. That was not it. This was a game you should not have lost. At all. Now, your boy Montgomery, he played pretty solid still. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah, cool. But y'all can't get blown out like this to UCLA. Stanford, this is a conference game. Every Pac-12 team this year playing UCLA should have felt like we're at least going to win. Even if we're terrible this year, we're at least going to win 1 game, and that's going to be against UCLA. And UCLA gets their first win in the conference, in their first conference game that they play against Stanford. That's tough, man. That's tough. Berger balled out, man. That guy, it was a cookout there for him. He was out there throwing touchdowns, almost 400 yards, close to, almost 30 for 40 here, 29 and 40. He had a great game. Cole had a great game. This wide receiver, I think it was, his first name is Lay Holloway, cooking Stanford. And then it was one play where he scored on, which was his only touchdown of the game, where he absolutely broke the secondary's ankles. It was a nasty juke. Had caught 2 defenders, and he went to the outside score. I don't know what's going on with Stanford in this game, but I think they played down to their level. They thought it was going to be easy, and UCLA came in there and whooped them. It's not really too much I could say about UCLA. I just feel like that was the case of this game. Stanford didn't play the way they were supposed to. UCLA took advantage and have gotten themselves a little bit of momentum. They boosted up a little bit of momentum here. Is UCLA going to be hot after this? I doubt it, but you never know. You never know in the RFL. This is a big win. This honestly is not a fluke win. You can't say it's a fluke win. 41-27, that's not a fluke win. So UCLA showing a little something here. And Stanford, I think they played, 27 points. Your offense scored 27 points. That's not bad, man. That's not bad. But I just felt like they had a lot of mistakes. In this game. And a lot of big plays that shouldn't have happened. And UCLA just crushed them. Just crushed those boys. And that's all I can say about that. LeCavalier continues to be pretty solid on the ground there. I think that's his first game. Might be his second game, less than 100 yards within this season. Now we get on to the final game. This was a premiere day. And this game, how many times we had to restart this game, man, because the PC was tripping. PC was out there bugging out, and you had the audio just having this clicking sound. We had to restart this thing 3 times, but hey, 3rd times was the charm. You could go back and see this. I said, yo, if this is going to push us back and wait us this long, this game just better be lit. And it was probably one of the most lit games of the week. I'm going to put this one up there still with Clemson and Alabama. Alabama and Clemson, that was a lot more action, I would have to still say, in it. But this game was up there with it. Literally came down overtime. Oklahoma, Alan Mourning. Let's just break down this game, because that's something I feel like I need to do a little bit more, because I've been talking more so about each team. But Oklahoma's quarterback, Alan Mourning, I had questions about him after the blowout loss they suffered from Michigan, 34-6. Bad, probably the worst upset loss for any team. And they come back here, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, I thought Oklahoma, they were fakers. The first 2 games of the week, of the season, these guys, getting destroyed in the first half, came back and won. Excellent second half play. 3rd game they played, of course, at pure domination, lost by 28. But you playing West Virginia here, one of the top tier teams in this college series so far. And they have them at home. And I think, Alan Mourning came out here, he was determined to win this game, making crazy plays, driving them down the field. That touchdown pass he had on the sidelines, that was remarkable. West Virginia went up and it seemed like it was all over for Oklahoma, and you just seen Allen Mourning one more chance to march down the field to lead his Sooners to victory, or to at least tie it up. It was 17-24 at that point. And he did it, man. He drove him down the field. Guys saying the touchdown catch on the sideline was a little bit controversial, but I do truly believe that the receiver dragged his back foot, and all you needed, of course, is 1 foot in college, and it stood as a touchdown, and they took it to overtime. And Oklahoma got the ball. Now, when Oklahoma got the ball, I already was like, yo, Mourning is hot. He's on fire right now. Allen Mourning is ready to finish this game. And he was driving them down the field. Had a pass. It was like an out route, but the route was short. And he didn't get the first down. They were in field goal range, so they had to settle for 3. At that point, it was 24-27. Gaddy, a little bit in this game, was looking shaky. You know, there was times where he was looking shaky, missing some passes. And so I was just like, this game's going to be crazy if they go down the field and they win this. It's all on Gaddy. And Tajay Gaddy, you know, marched him down the field, some big throws, and then they get in range. And it was crazy how the series went because he tried to throw, they went 3 straight shots. The first shot was pretty much, first and second shot when they got in the red zone was like 4 verticals. And Tajay Gaddy missed both of those passes. I was like, man, I if he misses 2 like that, I don't think he's going to make a third. I don't think he's going to be able to make a third. And if he does, he's probably going to be short. And something's going to happen. They're probably going to end up losing this game. Or at least tying it up. They were in range. So they try it one more time. And he throws an absolute dime in between the linebackers and safeties to Trey Drain. And they win the game. Like, it was crazy. That's why I wish I had the highlights that I had cut up. But what I am going to tell you guys is I am going to drop a video of every touchdown that happened in week 4. Because I know we've kind of been behind on highlights and things like that. I want to get caught up on things like that. Of course, there's going to be some more information and news I'll tell you guys towards the end. But he throws an absolute dime where it mattered most, and they win the game. He threw an interception the week before to playing against Miami on the last drive that he could have drove back to win the game, and he made up for it. So that was an amazing game. West Virginia ends up winning it 30-27. But what this game tells me, even though they lost, I think Oklahoma, we need to give them a little bit more time just before we say that Oklahoma's not a solid team. They look really great against a very good West Virginia team. So I think that Oklahoma is still a team to look out for in the Big 12 or this period in this college series. As long as we continue to get that exact Allen Mourning that we got in that game. And D'Amico Brewer was doing a great job on the ground. And another underrated guy who deserves a shout out is Enrique Bird. This is a generic wide receiver who's been making some clutch catches, man. Big plays when needed for Oklahoma. RFL scouts, coaches, look out for that guy. He's been looking pretty solid so far. And Grayson Mitchell, man. Can't give shout outs without, talk about Grayson Mitchell and Shea Carroll, who you see both here leading their stat categories. But Grayson Mitchell was an animal in this game. He ran extremely well, had to take quite a bit of breathers at times. You see, he ran him over 30 times, 127 yards and a touchdown. That one touchdown he had was straight up the middle. It was great. Very explosive back. And when you got him going and Tajay Gaddy, at least still in some type of run, the guy still threw for 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he still had a solid day and a game-winning throw. And Shea Carroll, a big-time playmaker at the wide receiver position. That gotta shout those guys out. Definitely still gotta shout out West Virginia's defense, but they kind of got worked in this game. Not gonna lie, they got worked quite a bit. Allen Mourning brought it to them boys. Good thing that Tajay Gaddy and those boys was able to close it out on the offense side of the ball. But yeah, that's it for that. We move on. Another conference game. This one in the Pac-12. Oregon versus USC. USC was able to take the number 1 spot coming into this week after they knocked off the number 1 team, Ohio State, beat them 27-20. At that point, we was like, wow. USC had 2 premier games before that week, so I don't think many guys had their eyes set or were paying attention to Calvin Poole. But I even said coming into that week, week 3 before Ohio State, I said, look, Calvin Poole, he's looking great, man. I think he's like probably one of the best quarterbacks right now to start out this season. And sure enough, he was very efficient against Ohio State, made no mistakes, moved down the field, and upset the Buckeyes. And I think at that point, more people was just like, wow, yeah, let's pay attention to this to Poole here. They like to call him the Poole Man. I like the name. That's going to be his nickname, Poole Man. Calvin Poole, once again, throwing in a couple touchdown passes. This guy leads, I believe, the college series, or at least tied leading the college series with passing touchdowns, 10 passing touchdowns in 4 games. And you can see he had 2 of those touchdowns here against Oregon. And Oregon, I talk about coming into most of their games when they're on defense, is like they got 390 overall defensive backs, corners. I think it's Lenore, Jamar Jumper, and then blanking on the other one out there. But they have great defensive backs. But Calvin Poole, he's just so fast at making his reads, even off the play action. This guy doesn't wait. He barely is going to get sacked because he seems like the fastest quarterback to read the field. And he's just moving them down the field, 300-plus yard passing game here. He had barely over 200 against Ohio State, but he's just that efficient. He's that efficient in getting the ball out of his hands and making plays. His wide receivers are great. Chris Harris, he's a generic guy. And what really kills is even when Dixon didn't have his best of games, I think it was like week 2, he kind of got shut down, Poole was still able to take over the game and win. And with Levi Dixon in the fold running the football now, if they can keep up this type of performance, they're looking like the team to beat this year. USC is looking crazy. They beat Oregon 31-21. Oregon ended up making still kind of pretty close. Wargo, he looked pretty good. Those 2 interceptions really hurt them. But also another portion of USC to credit is their defense. Their defense looked extremely good in this game. They looked really good because Wargo, he didn't throw any interceptions coming into this game. I think it was only him and Osiris, the only 2 quarterbacks in the series at that point that did not throw 1 interception this season. And USC, man, they were sending pressure. He was getting sacked. Of course, got picked off. They shut down Justin Creel. Creel was gone. He was eliminated from this game. 16 carries, 42 yards. That's not getting the job done. Bass, the second generic wide receiver, he just came out of nowhere, balling 2 touchdowns for him, 97 yards. Wargo still had, like I said, he had a rough game. The defense was really, really bringing the heat to him, and he did the best he could. But USC looking like the real deal, man. I still don't think, these are 2 back-to-back losses for Oregon. I don't feel like Oregon is a bad team by any means. I still feel like they're a solid team, and they still, in a sense, hung in there with USC, only losing by 10. I know it's not really only to say, but like that, they still held their own for the most part, kept it interesting, and it was actually 21-28 towards the end of the game. And USC, of course, driving down the field, kicked the field goal to get it up to 10 points. But, yeah, just a great game from USC. Great game from the Poole Man. Definitely the team to look out for. You guys already know from the top 25 rankings. I haven't even showed it. USC is definitely still number 1. And we'll see what they do heading into next week. But this is another great win against a solid team for USC. We move on. Baylor versus Auburn. Now, this game, Rob was calling this, and I think most guys, in the game were even saying, this was a snooze fest. Like, there wasn't really much going on. It's all straight up defense. Not really too much to talk about this. Baylor still, in a sense, dominated. And I still want to ask, like, what's going on with Auburn? I don't know what's going on with Auburn right now, man. 0-4, this was not the start I expected the Tigers to come out with. I just think back to last year. This is a team that was literally like at number 5. It was debated between Clemson and them on who would get in the last playoff spot in last year's College Series playoffs, and they got booted out. They played Baylor, and they beat Baylor. And the Christian Williams was very vocal in that game, and they ended up getting 3 touchdowns in that game. They won that bowl game, and this was pretty much the vengeance game. Baylor looking to get revenge. Christian Cross ended up crisscrossing sides. He used to be on Auburn, now he's on Baylor, and he helps them get their revenge win here, and they beat them 23-7. Not really too much to say here. It just pretty much was clamped down. You saw a couple of nice runs, from Spears. Killian Hawks, he didn't have that many yards, 52 yards through the air, but he did score. This is a very underrated tight end as well. Very underrated tight end that I think a lot of guys, once again, need to keep their eyes on and look out for. There's a lot of great tight ends in this series. A lot of great tight ends. Killian Hawks is definitely one of them, and definitely one of the, probably the only bright spot on offense that I've been able to see from Auburn this season. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot, because sometimes you get something from Spirit, but Nick Heller, he just doesn't look like to be that guy to lead the offense like that. But him and Hawks, they got something going. Baylor, they kind of struggled too to put up points here in this game. Through the air, Tomo 2 touchdowns. Had some great play from the Romo brothers, tight end Michael Romo, and I'm blanking on the other one, but both of those guys, had some pretty big catches. I think it was the tight end brother Romo that had a great in the end zone catch in traffic, and at that point it was pretty much quiet for the game. Not much scoring going on, and nothing really too much I can say about this game, man. Just a good solid win from Baylor. And Baylor, they can walk. This is a team that can walk out with those scruffy dubs. They don't care about how close it is. They can make things very defensively close. I mean, they came out, even though they lost North Carolina, you remember how defensive that game was. Lost that game, 17-11. That's an ugly score. But Baylor, they get the dub however they can. This is typical Baylor fashion right now this season. Good win. Moving on. Did not get any photos for this, so I had to use another photo. Elijah Walker, had a big game in this one. 3 sacks. And Miami, they end up getting a big dub over Notre Dame. They were kind of expected to win this anyway. But Notre Dame, they were looking hot, but, they've really kind of cooled off. This was a tough loss. The game looks close. And I don't know. We're going to play a bell for Notre Dame, man. And the reason why is because I don't know who snuck into my house messing with my PC to try to pull a Ravens and 49ers shut the lights off type of tactic, and then screw up the statistics thinking they're going to catch momentum when they come back, which they did. But just like the Ravens and 49ers game, ended up the same results. Even though the lights went out for you, even though you guys caught heat, you still took that L. Play the bell. And Notre Dame, they managed in very quick fashion to score touchdowns and make it a close game, losing by 7. But this game was literally looking out of reach for Notre Dame. Those guys were getting destroyed. I think it was like 15, 30, 33 or 36 at that point. So Miami dominated in this game. It was a great game from them. You look at Kadarius Polk. He had pretty average day when you look at the stat lines, but he made some pretty good throws. He made some pretty good plays and things. Darius Hodge, 4th straight game with 100 yards on the ground, and he just made that with 100 yards of 24 carries. And these wide receivers continuing to step up and make big plays for Miami. I think that has been one of the biggest things for them on the offense side of the ball. Jacob Eves led the receiving core with 6 catches for 99 yards, but Charlie Davenport continues to ball out as well. Didn't lead the team this week, but he had an amazing catch in traffic in the end zone, and really helped spark and start things up for Miami on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, like I said, pretty much shut it down. I mean, Miami's defense was absolutely strapping Notre Dame. And these guys are getting pressure with base rushes. These guys weren't really blitzing that much, and when they did blitz, boy, they got there. And they were sending 4 guys in the offensive line up front. really could not handle them. They were still getting constant pressure, still getting back there to Jet Blade. He was getting sacked, and Jet Blade turned into a plastic knife out there, man. Got shut down, 3 touchdowns. He still had, the 3 touchdowns look good, but he honestly didn't have that until towards the end of the game after the cut the game off gate thing happened. But Jay Watt balled out for Notre Dame. He had some big catches. But I think he had that one deep touchdown to make it like 15-33 or something at that point. But this was pure domination. Don't let the score fool you. Miami absolutely showed what they were made of in this game. And to be honest, I think this is the year where this is the Miami we expected to see last year. There's a lot of talk about Miami, being this playoff team, all these players they got, all these submitted guys, and they came up short. They still made a bowl game. And I think they rematched LSU, beat them. I think it was like 28-14. But they were expecting more out of last year. We all were expecting more out of last year's Miami team. This year, I think it was without a shadow of a doubt coming into this season. Most people already felt like this is going to be a better Miami team since they had quote unquote better players. And they kind of built their team to where they can work better with each other, because you saw DJ White wasn't getting it done at the quarterback position. Kadarius Polk, different style of quarterback, going to his wide receivers. This is they had a great running game, of course, with Amir Williams. I wouldn't compare Amir Williams with Darius Hodge still at all right now at this point, but Darius Hodge, a great running back, but that's all they had last year really was the run game. Now they got running pass, and once again, great defense. And I think their defense is even better than last year's by far. And I'm saying like by far because like these guys are extremely tough to throw the ball, run the ball, do anything on. And like I said, they were out here getting pressure with base 4-3, pass rushes. So man, Miami, shout out to those guys, 3-1 on the season. That's great. They lost their first game to open the season. The 2 back-to-back years they opened up the season, and they lost to Alabama, but they lost to Bama by a field goal. That game was 17-14. That could have went anyway. We could very well be saying Miami could be 4-0 right now. So they're on the right track. I really like what I'm seeing out of Miami, and they just need to keep things going. They just need to keep up the same momentum, keep the heat going, and in Notre Dame, I think they need to catch themselves with their offensive line looked bad last year in that game, but I don't think their offensive line is that terrible. That's the worst I've ever seen them look. And McDonald got shut down for the first time. He had 100 yards every game, just like Hodge, but not this one. 59 yards. You're not running on those Hurricanes, man. It had him right in the eye, and it was over. Run game was not a factor at all, and that's pretty much what's been keeping Notre Dame, in a sense, competitive offensively. Their passing game has looked average for quite some time since the season started. So Jet Blade just isn't looking like a consistent guy from how he's playing. And when you shut down, you take away their bell cow in the run game, you expect results like this. And Miami, great game plan, great dub, and you're looking forward to see if these guys can actually live up to the hype this year. I think they can. They're looking really good. We'll move on to the final game of the week. Like I said, this is in competition with the West Virginia and Oklahoma game. Alabama versus Clemson, man. I feel bad for Clemson. I really feel bad for Clemson. There's going to be no bells played in this because both teams came out and played amazing. It kind of started out a little bit slow, but the second half of this game just lit up. You just saw nothing but big plays, back and forth. Clemson go up, Bama go up, vice versa, just keep going. And this was probably, I'm still, because of how crazy the West Virginia-Oklahoma game was too, and how they went off that last play and how it even went to overtime, it's hard to tell which one, man. I want to know in the chat, out of those two games, which game would you choose to be the game of the week? The West Virginia-Oklahoma game or the Clemson-Alabama game? I just want to see what the chat thinks here, because those are some crazy games. And after that, I'll just dive into this. And I know I haven't really been able to keep up with the chat, guys, because I like just getting through things and then reading the chat when I have time and space to do that. West Virginia OU for McCall, Bama, Clemson. West Virginia had me on my feet, not gonna lie. Okay. OT is nice, but honestly tough. Clemson, Bama. A lot of guys saying Clemson, Bama. It's tough for me. But I will say that Clemson and Bama, I just think there was just a little bit more action, which makes it I probably would give it to Alabama and Clemson because of how exciting that game was, man. It was just so many big plays. Kazim Cash, that's where we could play it, Bell. 30 yards, 18 carries. Clemson shut him down. Alabama, they shut down Noah Walker pretty good as well. 25 carries to 65 yards. I think both quarterbacks played better than what we've been seeing them play all season long, especially Rocky Franklin. He was a nominee for Offensive Player of the Week, but Derek Berger, there's no way I could deny him that because, first of all, that's their first win of the season in a big fashion, and he threw for more touchdowns and did not throw any interceptions. Neither did he, but he threw 4 touchdowns and 380 yards, while Rocky Franklin had 288 and 3. So I couldn't give that to him, but he was a nominee, just to let y'all know. So we'll give him a shout out for that. The Zay Jones, man, this guy, he had a battle between he and Chris Numa, and honestly, I feel like Zay won. For a little minute, Numa was hanging with him, stopping him from, making some big plays, but he still ended up making plays regardless. 51 yards and a touchdown, which was deep bomb over the top. He's got the speed. He's got the routes. He's got the hands. I really like what I'm seeing from Zay Jones. I talked about these Alabama wide receivers. Don't sleep on D'Angelo Harper either. They've made some big time catches. It was Zay Day. It was Zay Day that day. And, he lit it up. Had half of the receiving yards, half of the passing yards that Franklin threw. So that's crazy. But Cardenas did a great job keeping them within this game, man. I really like how he was marching, going back and forth, touchdown for touchdown. It just was amazing, man. It was like 3-3 in the beginning, and 10. No, I think it was like 17-3 or 17-6 or something like that. And then, it was 10-10, 18-18. Like, it was literally that type of back and forth game. It was you were on your toes the entire game. So honestly, both teams played well. Alabama came out with the dub, and rightfully so at home. Great game. There's nothing I could say about this game but excellence. It's definitely lived up to be an RFL instant classic, and Bama came out with the dub, man. This was actually the first time in RFL College Series history that Bama played Clemson. So this was an amazing first ever game in the College Series between these two teams, man. Bama getting it done here, 39-28, and it was great how it ended, because what killed it was turnovers are always going to kill those back and forth games. It was like as soon as they scored, I think it was a deep touchdown pass to Jones. That's when Cinco Cardenas gets the ball, and the one turnover he throws with the pick six. Great job by Taylor, who was the the defensive back that picked that off and cribbed it. So that was definitely the determining factor of the game at the end of the day. Nothing I can say. Just excellent on both sides. It's tough for Clemson to be 1-3. Very tough for Clemson to be 1-3. But we know that this team is talented, and they probably had one of the toughest schedules. They played nothing but powerhouse teams just about every week. So I think once they blow past these couple of weeks and they start playing, a little bit of weaker opponents, that'll be able to catch them up and give them a chance possibly at making a postseason. It's going to be tough, man, because I think making the playoffs last year, the most losses was 3, and Clemson's at 3 right now. If they want to have a solid chance, they really want to try to win out every game. That's big. I think the most lost period, I think, in RFL College Series playoff history is, even though it hasn't been long, is 4 losses. Because I remember LSU, Geno Gannon made it in the playoffs with an 8-4 record. So there's hope for Clemson, but it's going to come down to those ACC games. And I really feel like Clemson in the ACC, they got to look out. They could turn things around when they play those ACC opponents. But that is it for the recaps, man. Pretty lengthy recap. Crazy, man. You know, out here solo dolo chat, chilling with y'all, man. It's been great so far. Let's go ahead and get a look at the players of the week this week. I already talked about Derek Berger winning their first game of the season. UCLA thought this team was going to go winless, and they didn't. There hasn't been a team in RFL history, in the RFL college history, that hasn't won at least one game. I think the lowest is 2. No, 1. It might have been 1. Tennessee. I know Tennessee was pretty bad. But nobody has went winless. And UCLA, we thought was going to be one of those teams, weren't. Excellent performance. 29 of 40, 380 yards, 4 touchdowns for Derek Berger. He just definitely was deserving of that award as a generic quarterback. And then a real-life player here for TCU, Corey Bethley. Bethley, 8 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. It's pretty much identical to the defensive player of the week last week, was Lennox Malone. So great game. Great game from both of these guys. Of course, got to shout those guys out and let you guys know, who's been tearing it up on the field, and those guys got it done. Shout out to Raymond Gambino signing up here as a member, Tier 4 member in the RFL YouTube channel. Appreciate you, my guy. Let me see, player. Okay, yeah. So now let's get a look at the new top 25 rankings in the RFL College Series. And here we go. We already know at number 1, USC, undefeated, 4-0, best record in the series right now. South Carolina managed, even though they had the bye week, to stay at number 2 because no one had more than 3 wins. So they're still at number 2 despite the bye week. North Carolina moves up to 3 with a 3-1 record. And most of these guys are going to be 3-1 until we get to number 10. But North Carolina is at 3. Miami moves up to 4. West Virginia 5. Alabama 6. Georgia moves up to 7. Baylor stays at 8. Louisville 9 after another big win there. Louisville, like I said, overperforming right now. And Ohio State, after the bye week, drops to 10 because they're 2-1 right now. So they're going to have to grind their way up. They play this week, and of course we'll find out who that opponent is going to be when we get to the schedule after this. Notre Dame, after the loss, is going to drop down here to 11. Florida State, despite the loss, moves up to 12. Oregon moves up to 13. Penn State 14. Iowa 15. Texas A&M 16. Michigan 17. Oklahoma 18. Texas 19, Florida 20, LSU 21, Washington 22, TCU getting ranked this week 23, Stanford dropping down after they're at 16, 8 spots now here to 24, and Clemson once again hanging on in the top 25 at 25. Tough loss, like I said, against great opponents. They've lost against great teams. So, yeah. That is your top 25 rankings. I'll make sure to post these out this time, guys. I know sometimes I don't post them after the podcast is over, and then we got a whole lot of other stuff going on, and then I don't post it. I didn't post it at all last week, so I'm gonna make sure that I post these up probably at the end of this podcast tonight. Yeah, that's the top 25. Those will be posted for you guys to look at. Let me look in the chat. Anybody got any questions about the top 25? Says 8. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's where you fell. It's been at 8 for like 3 weeks now, I think. Yeah. And who'd you beat this week? You beat Auburn, so it wasn't a big team beat there. So this is not Elijah Swan. Who is it then? Why are you on my man's page? Battle Carolina. So we climbing. Miami also played. Bama, West Virginia, Notre Dame. Yeah, they did. All right. Go ahead, look at that. I mean, get off here now. It's US. Okay. So, yeah, that's the top 25. Now let's go ahead and look at this upcoming week schedule. All right. So, week 5, first game, Texas versus TCU, and I think it's better for me to make the announcement now on this for what I was saving towards the end. So of course you guys already know that I'm going to have to step away because of, look, of course, my aspirations of joining the military and the Air Force as an officer. So because of that, I've actually decided to step away after this past week. So today will be, yesterday was my last day. No, the last game on Monday was my last day calling a game. So I won't be calling any more games, probably more than likely for the rest of this season. I'm actually going to step back, give myself time to get myself prepared for, what's to come in the future for me. So Rob will actually be commentating for you guys. I think he does a great job. And what I will be doing is I'm going to be stepping back more so in more of a commissioner role for you guys, which I think is going to be more beneficial in a sense to the league. I love calling games for y'all, but I think that if I spend my time, of course, training and doing everything I got to do for the military and actually use that time when I'm free for other league work, then I actually will be able to do probably a little bit more for the league. Even though I do a lot already, I think if I step back from calling games, I can be probably more consistent. I'm pretty sure I could be more consistent with, posting, even though we are pretty much consistent. I think we'd be even more consistent posting on social media, more consistent with highlights, because since Rob will be recording those and everything now, I can just get those, hurry up, knock those out, and not doing those at the last minute because I was calling games before. So I'm not stepping away all the way. And the good thing for y'all too is that at first I was even going to cut off the podcast from me being on it. I was going to let Bill and Rob still do the podcast, but I know that would be a lot for them to have to do that and all that. And so I do think I can at least still keep up with the podcast and come back at the podcast and do that for y'all, man. So you can still see me every Wednesday. I'm still going to be here every Wednesday. I'm going to watch all the games. You guys already know I watch all the games. And especially if I'm doing highlights for them. But yeah, every Wednesday will still be a podcast, but I will not be calling games. I most likely will not be able to be present during the live games when Rob is having those. So it's a lot, but I have to step away. I can't continue to, hold off that goal of, going in the military. No matter how much I enjoy being in this league, I got to actually, I'm 26. I'm still a young bull. I still got a lot I got to do. And this is going to not only elevate me and take me to other levels, this is a power move for the league, because once I get in the Air Force, once I'm in there, I'm going to be even more financially set. And when that happens, there's a lot more that I'm going to be able to do for the league. A lot more I'm going to be able to do for the league. I can't promise you, though, that I would probably come back and call games at that point, because I'm still not sure if I'm going to do active duty. More than likely I might, which means I probably won't be nowhere around for a while. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. But I just wanted to let you guys know that before we went through these games. I will not be calling any more games. More than likely for the rest of this year. Hopefully I get everything done and be able to come back for the RFL season, because I would love to call RFL games, because I know season 7 is going to be fire for the league. I would love to call games with guys like CP and Lito Loso, all those big name guys who just got drafted. So hopefully I get back for that. Hopefully, I'm praying. But let's get back to these games this week. Okay, so Rob said he's going to try to do double headers, man. I told him, y'all got to show out for my man Rob. All right, I'm gonna be going. I know 5 o'clock. Most guys don't make it, and usually you still get a good turnout at 5 o'clock because I'm calling the game. But try to show up for my man Rob while he's calling these games, because for one, it keeps him. It's going to keep him, excited to keep doing it, because he's going to. It's another extra workload for him, man. He's going to have 3 extra games now. He's going to call the games that I would normally call on his schedule, which is pretty much going to be back to back. So you already see how much work he puts in as well in this league. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why he's one of my main guys in the front office, both he and Bill. That's why they're on this show. And so make sure you guys turn these guys up while I'm going. All right? Keep the RFL alive. Keep things going. I'm still going to be, look, even though I'm not going to probably be around where you guys can see, I'm still going to be able to check in on my phone sometimes. So don't think y'all going to be out here tripping in the Discord and stuff, and I ain't going to find out, because I'll still boot you guys out of here. Play the bell for those guys in advance. But yeah, so he's still going to be keeping up the same schedule, but he's calling 2 games now on our primetime games. So he'll be calling Texas versus TCU. That'll be at 5. That'll be at 5 o'clock. Let me go ahead, and I won't be able to read you guys' comments here, but I'm gonna go into Discord, because I already made the spreads for this week on who I think's going to win, and I'm gonna just quickly go through these, because of course I don't have anybody else right now up here with me to see what their opinions are. You guys can comment what your opinions are in the chat on who you think's going to win. Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right, so game 1, TCU and Texas. Texas is ranked higher. They're 19. TCU's 23. They're kind of hot. Texas has been kind of hot too. They came up with a solid win over Maryland. But TCU at home, this high-flying offense, I think TCU wins this game. And I got the spread kind of small here. I even made it by a field goal. I think TCU is going to win by at least a field goal or more. So I got TCU in that matchup, which Rob will be calling. The next game, number 1 ranked USC will be on the road taking on Florida State and Amari Bone. Now, Amari Bone got strapped up. I was still going to say strapped up, because 97 yards is still good, but they still did their job. Amari Bone was not as explosive as he was in the first 3 weeks, against Louisville. And they're going to be home. They were on the road last time. I feel like Florida State might pose a great threat if he gets off to a very hot start. But, man, USC's got this. They should have this in the bag. I got them winning by 6 or more points. It could be a close game. So that's why I got that. Michigan versus Wisconsin. This is a Big Ten conference matchup right here. All right. Michigan lost their first Big Ten conference matchup against Iowa, which was tough. It was close, though, 31-26 as we went over. But Wisconsin, they've been terrible this year, and I think it's going to continue. I got Michigan winning by more than a touchdown. So, that's who I got winning in that one. Penn State versus Tennessee. Both teams have kind of been wishy-washy, but I think Tennessee has been more wishy-washy, in my opinion. I got Penn State winning on the road by 4 or more. Okay, then we got ourselves a Pac-12 conference matchup between Arizona State and UCLA. I think this is going to be a close game between 2 terrible teams this year. UCLA got their dub, so I'm just going to give it to UCLA. I think UCLA gets another dub back-to-back, and Arizona State, goes 0-5, which sucks, man. I got them by 2 or more points. That's how close I think it could be. Washington versus West Virginia. I don't think this is going to be a contest, but Washington has shown to be competitive. So I still made it a manageable spread, a very much manageable spread. I got West Virginia winning by 6 or more. Moving on to the 4 p.m. games on Saturday. Auburn versus LSU. Typically, this is a great game in the RFL College Series. Typically, this is a great game to watch in real life. But Auburn has been awful, and I think that's going to continue to be the case. I got the number 21 ranked LSU Tigers beating those boys by 6 or more. Then we got Baylor versus Oklahoma State. All right, this is a Big 12 conference matchup. Auburn and LSU is an SEC matchup for those guys who don't know. Like I said, we're seeing a lot more conference matchups now. These are big games. Every game at this point is very important. But yeah, I got Baylor winning this one, even though Oklahoma State's been great, man. They've been great, even when they were losing. I just think Baylor is still a better team all around. I think they still got the much better defense. I got Baylor winning by 6 or more. All right, Louisville versus Notre Dame. Louisville's looking great. Notre Dame's just looked bad. I don't feel Notre Dame at home, though, will lose to Louisville. I think that Notre Dame bounces back after their tough loss to Miami. Miami's a tough team, you know, and they still managed to close the gap a little bit there towards the end, which shows that they have the firepower. They just need to execute. And even though Dowman has looked great for Louisville, I think that Notre Dame puts it together. I got them winning by 4 or more points. Texas A&M versus Florida. I got Texas A&M. I think they bounce back, man. I think they beat the Gators on the road by 4 or more points as well. Nothing really too much to say here. Florida, good win, good best performance they had of the season last week against Tennessee, but it's Tennessee, you know. And TCU, yeah, took a tough loss to Texas A&M. Yeah, they took a tough loss to TCU, but TCU's been hot, man. So I think that A&M is going to be the better team in that matchup. And then to close out the premiere day, I will announce this as well. I was just talking about I would not be able to call. If I am free, however, on Saturdays, I will try to at least call a game if I have the time. If I have the time on a Saturday, I can call at least that game for you guys. I'm not going to say every week. It's going to probably be spotty, but, you know, expect the 8 o'clock game, you know, to possibly be called by me if I'm free. And I would love to call this one, man. South Carolina versus North Carolina. Battle of the Carolinas. Who's going to be better, man? I think North Carolina is going to end the streak, though. I got North Carolina ending the streak of South Carolina here. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I got North Carolina winning by a field goal or more. We move on to Pac-12 conference matchup. Oregon versus Stanford. This matchup happened in real life, and Stanford got the upset. I don't think that's going to happen here, though, in the RFL. I got Oregon winning by a field goal or more as well. I still think it's going to be close, even though Stanford just lost to UCLA, which is like, wow, I still can't believe that. But I think Stanford's still a good team, and but they're not going to beat Oregon, in my opinion. Next game, Iowa versus Ohio State. Ohio State is back in action after taking that L and taking the bye week. So they had 2 weeks to think about that L, that whooping they took from the current number 1 team, USC. I think they come back with a vengeance. Iowa's not a slouch team. Like I said, this is a team that can upset anybody, to be honest. If they're hot, this is an extremely tough team to beat. They looked great last week. Elliott Rivers, 4-touchdown game again, his second of the season. I think it's going to be still in favor of Ohio State by at least 6 or more points. And then we close out the week with 2 big primetime games again. Miami versus Clemson, man. The ACC Conference Championship rematch, and boy, does Miami want their vengeance. Those guys got stomped on. Lito Loso got flat out embarrassed. I know Lito Loso's going to be watching this game, hoping his boys get the revenge back on this one. Joey and Laettner went off on that guy. But, hey, I think Miami does get the revenge. Final score of that conference championship game in the ACC was 41-7. I don't think Miami goes out like that. I don't think they go out at all. And I think Clemson might start out with a 1-4 record, which is tough. But I got Miami winning by at least 4 or more points in that game. And then, of course, we finished with another huge primetime rematch in the SEC. It's the national championship rematch. Georgia versus Alabama. Definitely game of the week. Must watch TV for sure there. Now, look, Georgia, of course, isn't the same Georgia as last year. You know, you can see that if they took their first L, there's some games that's pretty close. But I do still feel like Georgia is a great team. Another thing I will say about Georgia is this is kind of like a must-win game if you want to try to lead the SEC going into the conference championship. All right, Alabama's been playing some excellent football. They're going to have the home field advantage as well. They lost to you guys 3 times in 1 year last year. I don't think they let it, I don't think they would expect to go 4-0. But guess what? I think Georgia gets it done, man. I think Georgia goes in there, and I think they beat them in a very close game by a field goal or more. So those are the spreads. I'm posting those right now, and I'm going back to the chat to see you guys' comments. Let me see. Yeah. And I know it's a lot that I missed, but yeah, I got Georgia getting the dub. They must get the dub, man. If they lose this game and they already got an L to South Carolina, it's going to be tough to be, unless, of course, they went out and beat some pretty tough teams on the rest of the schedule to best as at least the number 1 or number 2 spot in the SEC. So, hey, Bama, give these boys a game. I think they are going to. That's definitely a game of the week, must-watch TV right there. Rematch number 4, round 4. But yeah, that's it. That is it for the schedule. I will be posting this as well on our social media platforms. Make sure to look out for these games, man. Like that Georgia and Bama game. That's going to be live. Miami, Clemson. I like Ohio State. I want to see what Ohio State does after a week off against a pretty solid Iowa team. It's another big game. Louisville, Notre Dame is going to be solid. North Carolina, South Carolina, definitely. That's huge. And that's probably the biggest matchups that I see coming into this week that you guys definitely got to tune into. So, yeah, that's it for the schedule. Now we'll look at. I already broke the news to you guys about not being able to call, more than likely not calling any more games for the rest of the season. So that was the news I was going to do at the end. So now let's just go into the statistics. I'm gonna go ahead and see who the stat leaders are and show you guys, because I know it's been a couple weeks since we've showed who's leading the RFL College Series right now, and I'm loading everything up right here. All right, so let me get this. Wow. All right, let's go ahead and get a look at these statistics. So Deotis Speller is leading all quarterbacks in passing yards this season, 1,523 passing yards. The interceptions, like I said, has been a problem. As much as he's been able to bomb the ball down the field, make big yards, 6 touchdowns for this amount of yards, and the big plays that they got, that's still not great. The receivers are getting great yards, but they just not enough touchdowns for Deotis Speller here. And of course the interceptions, like I said, killing them. And you're really starting to see these percentages drop now, thank God, because those things was like in the 80s, mid to high 70s, and it's starting to drop, which is getting more realistic. Moses King, second quarterback leading the college series, 1,440 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Allen Mourning, he's top 3 in passing yards, 1,418 on the season, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Cinco Cardenas, he's got 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,400 yards on the dot. Jackson Dowman, I talked about this guy, man, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 4 games, 70%. 1,356 yards for him. He's in the top 10 category. Taylor Wilson, like I said, the interceptions really hurting this kid. 7 picks in 4 games, 8 touchdowns. But, he's been able to sling the ball quite a bit for some big plays. He just got to cut those interceptions. Nick Heller for Auburn, 1,293. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for him. Corey Birdie threw 3 interceptions last week. So he got 5 for 7. Asire Reese, 1,257 yards here. If I'm not mistaken, he might be the only quarterback. And is that top 10? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we could go one more after Reese. So we'll check if he's the only quarterback to not throw an interception so far this season within 4 games. 76%. I think that's the highest percent quarterbacks got to right now. Zion Thor, 1,249, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 67%. So let's go ahead and see Yeah, Cyrus is the only quarterback to have not thrown at least one interception within the first 4 games. So, like I said, he's living up to the hype right now. And then we go ahead and look at the percentages. Yes, he has the highest completion percentage out of all the quarterbacks right now in the series with 76, averaging 314 yards per game. So, Cyrus, great first 4 weeks of the season. You got to keep this up, man. He knows the challenge. He knows the challenge that is ahead of him in order to be solid coming out of the draft. And right now he's leading the pack. The yards may not be the highest, but who cares? He's very efficient, taking care of the football, good amount of touchdowns. That's all you can ask for. We'll have to see, if that continues. Hopefully it does. But you got Alec Rett right here, high completion percentage, 73% for him. Monty Wyatt, 73%. Alan Mourning, 72%. 72% for Cartinez, more of a conservative style quarterback. Slim Duncan's got 72. A lot of guys in the 70s still. Moses King, 71. Jet Blade, 71. 70 for Briley. 70 for Dowman. And then we get in the 60s here. Montgomery, Poole, and all that. I thought Poole had a higher percentage than this, but looking at Poole's numbers, like I said, a complete game manager. He takes over the game. He's not going to hit you with the crazy deep big plays in the air, but look at this guy still averages 300 yards per game, 1,202 yards, 10 touchdown passes. I think that's tied for the most touchdown passes. Yeah, tied for the most touchdown passes in 4 weeks with Elliott Rivers. So you still can't sleep on Elliott Rivers, man. Like I said, he kind of went quiet for a little bit, but the guy still leads in touchdown passes and has only thrown 3 interceptions. So both of these quarterbacks, very efficient. But right now, my front runner of who I'm looking at, like really like dominating, is Calvin Poole, just completely taking over a game. And of course, Cyrus out though right there. Those are my top 2 guys right now. I'm not going to talk too much. Like I could talk a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk this way this first season, but when the second season comes, I'm not going to let you guys know who I feel is this and that based off of their play because it kind of gives away the draft, and I don't want to do that. But I'll let you guys know, at least for this season, for the most part, like who I feel, is really balling. Calvin Poole, the Poole man, and the Cyrus. Those guys, I think, is top 1, top 2. Yeah, and then you still gotta look out for Rivers, man. He's great. It's a lot of games left to go, man. It's so much going on in the league right now. It's so much going on in this series right now. Upsets, big plays. You just don't know, how this is all going to turn out. And that's one of the most exciting things about being part of the RFL College Series. If you aren't a part of it, make sure you join next year, man. It's a great thing to be a part of. 9 touchdowns we talked about. Dowman 8. You can see these guys. Jack Wargo, he threw his 2 interceptions here in 1 game, which was last week, was his first interception. Rocky Franklin kind of separating away from his interceptions with the 3 touchdown passes and no picks last week against it wasn't Notre Dame who they played. I'm tripping here. Already blanking. But it was great Clemson. Yeah, against Clemson. Let's see who's leading in the negatives categories here. Interceptions. I talked about this. Miles McCain leading all quarterbacks with interceptions. He's got 10 interceptions in 4 games. 10 interceptions in 4 games. That's that's an average. It ain't like it is an average. An average of 2 picks a game. He needs to cut those down because when he's not throwing interceptions, I mean, I can't say that either because it has been inerrant throws from him. But when he's on, though, he's on. Even though he threw 3 interceptions last week, those 3 touchdown passes and the way he completed on a couple of those big plays, I still really like the way he played. He could definitely turn out to be a good quarterback. He just needs to cut down on those picks big time. That's what's really been hurting North Carolina, but their team has just been that great to still keep them in games. Corey Bird, 7 interceptions, and Taylor Wilson with 7. Chris Jones got 6. The Otis Beller we talked about, this picks with 5. Rhett's got 5. This guy was also tying up his interceptions with touchdowns, but he was also really great at what's going on here? Okay, he was also really great at just making big plays in big moments. Like, he is one of the few quarterbacks, probably the only quarterback to throw interceptions, and it seems as if he didn't throw any because of how great he plays. And that's a generic quarterback that's not even a high overall. I think it's like an 82 or something like that. Polk's got 4 picks. Kopasik, not bad. I mean, it is an interception a game, which ain't too good. But I really need to see a lot more out of Ryan Kopasik, man. I feel like LSU's got a squad, man. They got a squad. But he's the problem right now. Ryan Kopasik is definitely the problem right now. He needs to get the ball out there to his targets, man. Raymond Gambino, Brian Hagan, Raymond Gordon. Like, you got targets everywhere. You can even pass the Bezo out the backfield. So many targets, so many opportunities for him to make plays, and he misses on a lot. You know, he misses on a lot of big opportunities. If he cashes out on most of those in the future, LSU's going to be a very dangerous team. Mark my words if they do that. Akira Atomo still has not passed for 1,000 yards yet. He's very conservative. I can't really say that. He does like to take the top off and bomb something deep to Romo or, I'm blanking on number 12's name. But, he can go deep, but you can see he takes quite a bit of chances. Sometimes he misses some passes. I want to see more out of him as well. 64%, not bad, but he could be better. Thor is good. That's all I can really say here. I think I spent too much time here on the quarterbacks alone. So that's it. Before we do that, let's go see who's getting sacked the most here. Oh, Montgomery's got 24 sacks. Yuki, that's probably why he is at times playing like Dookie, man. The offensive line got to do better, man. This guy's not a scrambler, so that's on the line. 21 sacks. Well, it could be on him, too, for holding the ball. 21 sacks already for him. Zion Thor's got 18, 17 for Stearns, 17 for Theodis Speller. Rocky's got 17. See him go through quite a bit of pressure. That's all I'll really go through right there. Let's go ahead and get a look at the running backs. Despite being, quote unquote, locked up last week, the guy still, by 70 yards, leads the next best running back. Amari Bone leads all running backs in rushing yards with 557 yards. So this guy, hands down, seems to be on pace for 1,000-yard season. 3 rushing touchdowns, which is 2 more than the 5 next closest best backs in yards. So this guy's got a nose for end zone. He is the offense pretty much for Florida State. He's balling. He's got of course the best yard per carry average. Still averages 140 yards a game. It's ridiculous. Guy's a beast. Elijah Swan, 487 yards. He's definitely hopped onto the scene. He's been eating, man. I really love the way this kid runs. Very explosive. He can catch out the backfield, make plays. Swan's a beast. Got Grayson Mitchell too, 449 yards rushing with the 1 touchdown. Monster. Justin Krill, 2 games out of the 4 he's been shut down. But when he's not, this guy flies for big yards. But I think he's played good defenses, and he's still a top 5 back in yards because of how explosive he can be. So you can see a 4.7 yard per carry average, 1 touchdown, 148 yards. Dale Barkley is a little bit of a sleeper here from Maryland. Really like how he plays. He also splits carries from time to time with Marshawn Jefferson, who's a beast of a backup running back. We got quite a bit of beast backup running backs in the RFL College Series. Dale Barkley still top 5. Is that top 5? Yeah, he's top 5 at 5 with 445 yards, and look at him, almost averaging 6 yards per carry. So this guy is a beast. He gets it done there for Maryland. Grayson Cavalier, 444 yards, 5.6 yards per carry for him. Got a touchdown. Darnell Hodge, 443 yards, 4 straight consecutive 100-yard games. Of course, averaging 100 yards per game of 110.8. 5 yard per carry average. That's great. 3 touchdowns. I think 3 touchdowns may be the most that running back has so far in this series. Levi Dixon's a guy to look out for, too. 2 touchdowns for him, 438 yards. True Bronze, too. Guy to look out for, 415, 2 touchdowns. And I think J.C. Johnson is still in the top 10. He's got 412 for 3. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so those are your top 10 running backs right now by rushing yards. By rushing yards, those are the top guys. Let's get, look at a couple guys, skim through a couple guys. Terry Batiste right there, 408. Matt Roper's closing in on 400 yards. CJ Cooper is. Haskins been an underrated guy. Look at 3 touchdowns. Got in the end zone 3 times. Dubac. I forgot you can't say his name normal. It's got to be Dubac. He got 3 touchdowns, but hey, Donald Dubac has been looking more like Donald Duck these last couple of weeks, man. He's been shut down, man. Duck in the smoke. D'Amico Brewer there, 374, 2 touchdowns. Jackson's not draftable. Kazim Cash is kind of quieted down there, but 359. Vince McDonald, 351. And so I'll just skim through these. Yeah, and then as I was talking, where's Barry? Not Barry Hill, but I think I just passed him. Okay, I thought he had like 100 something. I was going to say, yeah, he hasn't been doing too great. Well, that's all I got right there. Let's see who's leading in rushing touchdowns. 3, yeah, so it's 3. Amari Bone, Brock Volts, Darnell Hodge, JT Jordan, JC Johnson, Euro Winbush, Brendan Haskins, Donald Dubac. Yeah, so those are the top ones, and then he's the runner-up for 2s. Who's fumbled the most? 4 fumbles. That's quarterback. For running back, Jacarius Best, 3 fumbles. I think he had 2 in one game though, so I might can give him some slack. But still, 3 fumbles. A lot of fumbles for him. He's not draftable anymore because he didn't check in. He had 3 as well. So those are the main running backs who's fumbled. See broken tackles. We leading in broken tackles. Still Wayne Diesel living up to the name, man. But it looks like he about to take the Diesel name, man. Levi Dixon on his heels, tied up, 19 broken tackles apiece between the 2. That's still great. Mike Jackson's got 18, not draftable guy. Bradley Landry, 17. Vince McDonald, 16, 15. J.C. Jordan, Amari Bone, True Bronze. Matt Roper's got 14. Haskins, 14. Elijah Swan. So these are the guys right here leading in broken tackles. Who's got most yards after contact, though? Levi Dixon, man. 178 rushing yards after contact. Guy's a beast for USC, man. USC's entire team looks fire this year, and they don't even got prospects except for one with Daniel Severio, and he's been balling. 145 for Dale Barkley. He's great after contact. Of course, we know Amari Bone is great after contact. He couldn't get much yards after contact this week. If he did play like as his usual self, he'll probably be leading this category, but he's not. Darnell Hodge, he's 2 off from Bone there. Bronze 115. Yeah, so some great yards after contact by running backs here. Diesel 103, close to 100. J.C. Jordan. Longest run by running back, 83 yards from D'Amico Brewer, 80-yarder from Levi Dixon and Darnell Hodge, 875 for Winbush, 70 for Cavalier there, and it starts to go down. 64 Barkley, 61 CJ Cooper, and so on. So yeah, that's it for the rushing and the things. Let's look at receiving. And like I said, yeah, I knew I looked at this. The 2 leading wide receivers in the college series are both on the same team. These guys are eating. Devontrez Sharkley, 567 yards in 4 games and 2 touchdowns. Both of these guys equally torching down the field. Amari Harris, 24 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. These guys are just absolute burners on the same team and averaging over 100 yards receiving per game. That's ridiculous. These guys right now are looking like the best duo in the RFL College Series right now. We got Lawson Hayes. He's got 434 yards. Caleb Houston, this guy's been cool. He cooled off mainly because he had the bye week, so not going to take that away from his first 2 games. He had 188 and 177 yard game. So who knows? He might come back on fire. Look out for him. Don't sleep on him. Average $140 per game. So he's still up there. He's up there with Devontrez Sharkley and the same amount of touchdowns with 1 less game. So yeah, that's interesting. But Houston's going to have a big 100-yard plus game off of Devontrez Sharkley's week off when he has it. So those two right now looking like top tier guys. Those two, and of course Harris, not a guy anymore. Zay Jones, big night last night, 23. Oh, not last night, Monday night. 23 catches, 392 yards. Look at the average per game, per reception, 17, 2 touchdowns. Houston's got probably the biggest yards per carry, yards per reception. Tyree Bryant, he's got 19 for 382, 3 touchdowns. Leighton Callaway, I think this is generic. This is a generic wide receiver. He's got 22 for 376, a touchdown there. Noah Rozier, this guy who can make a lot of big plays off of minimal receptions, 22 for 376, touchdown. Only had the 1 touchdown off that slant he had, which was great, showing off the speed for the big guy. This guy's got 38. He's probably leading the college series in receptions. This guy almost seems to have every single game over double digits in receptions, but not a lot of yards. That's how conservative UCLA usually is, or how bad it is for them to pass down the field to their receivers, even though Holloway had himself a huge game this week. And Emmanuel Vick, that's a big-time wide receiver to look out for. Generic guy, 23 receptions, 358 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. And I talked about Demarius Walker, beast mode for Maryland, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been the more consistent wide receiver for the team. And Chris Harris for USC has been monstrous as well. 20 catches, 342 yards. Got Bird right there. Let's go ahead and start. I don't want to go all the way down the list. We'll go down the list quickly here. Chandler back up there. You can see Madrano, another notable guy. Felix Asher. I got Notre Dame boys, Ace Hendricks and Jay Watt. Killian Hawks. This guy Weston's been great. Gambino. Charlie Davenport as a third-string guy, 79 overall, man. 3 touchdowns on the season, 22 receptions, 295 yards. Get to know this guy, man. He's been balling. See if he keep that up. And D'Angelo Harper right here with 292. Doesn't have any touchdowns yet, surprisingly, but he's made a lot of big catches. Jacob Eves. Shoot, Davenport's got more receptions than receiving yards than Jacob Eves and touchdowns. That's crazy. Yeah, and Johnson, the tight end. All right, so let's just go. It's a lot of guys. I'm not going to go down the entire list. It'll be too long. Who averages the most? This is not a starter. Yeah, Caleb Houston as a true starting wide receiver, averages the most yards after a catch, 23.4. That's amazing. He's not a main wide receiver. Corey Smith was a main wide receiver. Then the two submitted wide receivers came, and he had to take the back seat and play in the slot now. But I think he made a name for himself for the draft, even if he doesn't get the statistics, because this guy was beasting for Texas. He's got 3 touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns one week, and even when he took a seat on the bench, he had another touchdown off of 1 reception. So he's still a good guy here. Too bad this guy didn't check in. Used to be Jay Matthews, I think. Now it's Jeremiah Miller Jr. Still some guys who I need to change with their names so I can get them all the way out of here. Devontrez Sharkley, 20.3 yards per catch. That's awesome. Tyree Bryant, like I said, the speed with this guy, 20.1 yards a catch. Jake Summers, and that's mainly the main guys right there. Leading in touchdowns, Killian Hawks, the tight end. That's what's up, man. I talked about how special this guy, man, is with a team that just has nothing going but him. 4 touchdowns there. Johnny Sweet, this guy's nice, bro. He's a generic, but definitely seen a lot of great games from him for Clemson and big-time catches, big moments he's lived up to. Bryce Zakowicz, he's been fire as well. I don't know if guys been paying too much attention to Tennessee, but Zakowicz is fire. He got 3 touchdowns there. Tremaine Hall for Tennessee's got 3 touchdowns as well. Okay. Dalton Robinson for Alabama, generic tight end. He's got 3 touchdowns. Been great. Basman Floyd, very much a sleeper for Oregon. He makes a lot of big catches. Hales makes a lot of big catches. I think he's a real guy, though. 3 touchdowns. Kennard, 3 touchdowns here. Fowler, touchdown. Ace Hendricks, there goes a guy. Charlie Davenport up there with 3. Peyton Cash, the tight end. Mike Dansby, he started out the season hot. Garcia, who should have more than this, man. He should have 5. He probably, he should be leading the series in receiving touchdowns, to be honest. Unfortunately, his game doesn't save. He has to deal with the stats he's given, which sucks. But, hey, this guy, I don't think it's no secret right now that this guy is probably the best tight end in the series. Very unstoppable. Tyree Bryant, 3 touchdowns. Smith, 3. Jalen Bryan, 3. And Josh Cochran, 3 touchdowns as well. So that's it for those leaders. Who got the most yak? Emmanuel Vick. That's definitely hands down. Watching this guy play, if you give him any space after catching the football, it's over. He cribs everything. Yeah, he's definitely a very underrated generic wide receiver. 172 rack yards. Beast mode. Caleb Houston, second best with 167 yards with one less game than everyone else. So that dude's a beast after the catch. Tyreek Bryant, obvious, like I said, the speed, beast after the catch. Latarius Batiste as a running back got 136 yards after the catch, which is, I guess not something too crazy because running backs usually have, more open field on their catches out of the backfield sometimes. But still, that's amazing. He's a great receiving threat out of the backfield for the Hawkeyes. Tight end here, Hap. That's a generic. 135 yards after catch for him. Vince Waynes. Yeah, quite a big list. Chandler back, 121 yards after catch here. J.C. Johnson out the backfield, 120. Uzakowicz, who's great with the ball in his hands after a catch, 119. Yeah, so that's what I got from there. Who's got the longest receiving touchdown? Caleb Houston, 88-yarder. Then it's Amari Harris, 81-yarder. Devonta Sharkley, of course, these two back-to-back, 78 yards. Emmanuel Vick, 77. Noah Rozier, 75. Corey Smith, 73. Leighton, 71. 70 for Micah Jones. Dom Bass, 69. I think he had that just this past week. Jacob Flowers, 68 with Uzakowicz. And that's all I'm going to leave at right there. Blocking. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong thing here. So who gave up the most sacks? Yeesh, ain't that tough. Submitted lineman. Leading in allowed sacks here for Georgia. King Rainey. And he had a rough game. I think 4 of those sacks, though, came in one game. So I guess I could give him a bit of a pass, but still 4 sacks in one game, that's pretty tough. See what else. Let's just look for our main guys if we see them. I'm not trying to go through. Tyler Grigson, 4 sacks in 4 games. Patterson, 3 and 4. Mainly most of those came from probably Miami this past week. Frank Granger for Clemson, 3 sacks. Tank. Boy, Henry Tank, 3. All right, let's see who gave up the least. Who didn't give up any sacks? Oh, man, we no longer have a submitted lineman who didn't give up a sack. There was only like 2 guys who were submitted or eligible for the draft in the RFL last season that only gave up, that didn't give up a sack at all. So we don't got any linemen like that, it seems, in this class. Mike Lopez, I think he was the one who didn't give up one. I'm not sure. Might have been Hampton. But 1 sack coming up by him. Erica Ashley gave up 1. Jehovah Hampton. Elijah Powerwood gave up 1. This is not bad, though. This is 1 sack. It's just 1 sack. So 1 sack in 4 games, we'll take it. Marquise Glover, second. I think Carry On fought. No, we don't have any guys submitted to go to UCLA. Nathan, this guy didn't check in, so he's done. David Napoleon. Just going down the list for at least the guys who gave up 1 sack. Grant Canyon gave up just 1 sack. And yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'll go through there for the linemen. Let's go ahead and get a look at the defense. Who's leading in tackles? Florida's middle linebacker, generic middle linebacker at that. Imani Adams, 61 total tackles and 41 of those solo. So he's been a tackling machine. Looks like he could be on pace. Yeah, more than likely, he's more than on pace for at least 100 tackles this season. No, Harvey's not one of our guys. Montez Jefferson's got 50. A submitted guy. Landon Hankel, 49. Benito, this guy's everywhere. I see him all the time. Garrett Evans, 46. Got 46 tackles on the season. Drew Falk, 43. Diaco Farrell, 42 right there. Chip Pierre Armani, 40. And I think that's all we'll go through for tackles. Clayton Zeno right there. And yeah, that's what we'll go through at the moment. Chico Canetti, I see right there, though, 37. All right, let's look at who's leading in tackles for loss. Samuel Justice, he's got 10 tackles for loss. That's amazing in 4 games. That's at least 2 tackles a loss per game, as well as the guys who got 9. With Keno Thedford, this guy was a beast this past week, despite the loss to Miami. That's not our guys. Eddie Chapman. I like Eddie Chap. He's a beast off the edge, man, for Clemson. He does pretty good. He's got 9. That's not one of our guys. Joshua Frank, 7. J.J. Reed's got 6. Montez Jefferson, 6. Got Lennox Malone, 6 as well. We'll go all the way down to to 5. So C.C. Ekene, cornerback, he got 5. Robert Ivory, I really like his play as well. He's been great for Miami this year, man. Chad Ward's got 5. Rex McCullough, Tyreek McCall, Tyler Cage, beast mode. Christian Cross. Oh yeah, we're getting into the 4s here, so we'll just leave that alone. Who's leading in sacks? This guy won Defensive Player of the Week, and obviously so. He had 3 sacks, and that helps him tie for the most sacks in the series. He's not draftable though, so there's no point of even looking at it. But he does lead the series with sacks with 7. That's not a draftable guy. Elijah Walker, he got 3 sacks this past game, and from that now he's got 5, and he leads, submitted prospects in sacks right there with 5. But this could be off because sometimes they don't show some players, and I don't really have the time to go back and look and find who's not there or whatsoever, and things like that. Naru Kala's got 5 sacks as well. Benji Santana with 5. Keno Thedford, 4.5. Dakota Dell, strong safety. I was talking about this in the game too, man. They love sending Dakota Dell on blitzes, and usually it works out. And this guy's got 4 sacks as a strong safety. Balling. That's nice. That's a submitted guy as well. J.J. Reed's got 4 sacks. Linton Malone, 4 sacks. Tyreek McCall's got 4. Christian Cross has got 4. I think that's our main guys. Now we're moving on to 3. Terrence Weary's got 3. I think, is this T. Amos guy one of ours? I'm not sure. I gotta look into that. But Odebeck's got 3. Yeah, we'll stop right there. Now we'll look at who's been a menace through the air. Richard Groom still leading defensive backs with interceptions. He had 3 in 2 weeks. Hasn't been able to get 1 in the last 2 weeks, but this guy is definitely someone I think more offenses have said before coming into the game, hey, we're not going to try to throw too much in this guy's area. He's got 3. Ekine's tied with him with 3, as well as Dwayne Knox. Solid players. Dwayne Knox, man, generic free safety, but he is a dog. Like, the one game he had, I forgot who it was they won again. I think it was TCU, man. He had 2 block punts. 2 block punts that went to the house for touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that game. He's got 3 total. This guy seems to be everywhere on the field, man. Big time generic to look out for. Tyler Cage is a beast, and he just does everything. Look, 5 tackles for loss, got to 34 tackles for middle linebacker at this point. That's kind of that's average at best probably, but he's doing everything else though. You can see the 2 interceptions, got 2 pass deflections. People usually don't run his way. He's got 1 forced fumble, a lot of big hits, 1 defensive touchdown. The statistics for him don't really explain what he does on the field. I mean, even when he's not making the play, he's making the play. What I mean by that, sometimes he's chopping down, like getting in the way so other players on the team can make the play. He does that a lot. Robert Harper, 2 interceptions. He had 2 picks, 4 touchdowns when he got these 2 picks. And I think those are against South Carolina. But he's been great in coverage and stuff like that. Those are main guys right there. Not going to go through the ones with 1. Robert Ivory got himself a pick, though. Chad Ward got himself 1. Who's knocking him down? Who's got the most pass deflection? Who's strapping up here? McGriff, not one of our guys. King Jackson. When I tell you this guy, he's got 0 interceptions on the season. He could have 6. The guy can't catch to save his life. Absolutely cannot catch to save his life. Guys got brick hands. But 9 deflections, literally tied for the most pass deflections in this series so far. And that says a lot about his coverage skills. He's pretty good in coverage. Deion Bowes got 8 as a linebacker. Rex McCullough's got 8. These linebackers out here strapping. Rex McCullough's got 8. Cairo Cash with 8. He's not a player anymore. Cassius Watkins, 7. Deonco Farrow's got 6. Not a guy anymore. David Leather's got 6. Folk with 6. Yeah, quite a Sonny Williams. Seen him fly around a lot. Groom's got 5. Montez Jefferson's got 5. Who else we got here? He's a generic guy here. Ron Wiley. He had a big game. Oh man, they didn't count his 2 interceptions he had. And he had 2 big clutch interceptions this week as well against Tennessee that don't count. Blake Boone, 5. Daniel Severio's got 5 pass deflections. Well, John Davey, 5 pass deflections. That's one of our guys. And then we got Chavez Dunaway with 5 as well. And those are our 5 guys. We'll stop there. Catches allowed. Chico Canet, he's a linebacker. Ron Wiley, they're up 6. Yeah. Let's look at forced fumbles. Who's been knocking the ball out? J.R. Petit, 3 forced fumbles on the season. Christian Cross got 2. He leads. Poteet leads in forced fumbles so far. Daxton Hill's got 2 as well as Braylon King Moore, who we know is Mr. Knock Your Block Off. He said, I got to stream. Let these stats breathe. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the streaming, man. Just showing these guys, everything right now since they can't look at these things here. But you got Rodney, Barton, Farrow, the guys with 2. Joshua Frank's got 2 as well. David Leathers. We're not going to go through the guys with 1. Almost done, man. But who's leading the pass to defensive touchdowns? We got Robert Harper with 2 leading in that. I'm not going to go down the list of this. That's it. No kick. Well, we had some kick return for touchdowns. Who's had those? Greg Keys, which I think is a generic guy. And then DeMar Cooper. And that's pretty much it. Punt return, kick. I know people say kickers are people too. But I'm not going to go through this list here. Yeah, that'll be for some other time. But yeah, that is it. That is it for the statistics. I enjoy doing this podcast, of course, with you guys. Of course, letting you guys know, of course, what is to come in the future. Rob's going to be calling a lot of double headers, which is why I got to hurry up, get off here, let my man hop on to record the rest of these Premier games for Saturday. But with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys once again showing love to the RFL, podcasts, and, always stay active in the community. I'll still be around and stuff. Don't think that you can wild out, because for one, even if I'm not around for a moment, Rob and Bill is gonna be on y'all's next. But with that being said, man, it's your boy Smitty, man. Enjoyed calling this for you guys, and I will be seeing you guys in the future. Peace. Let this rock out with the music, man. Gotta hear bro's song.
It's a brand new season, baby.
Hey.
Touchdown. touchdown, 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 touchdown. It's a brand new season, been a long wait, saw some players up, put them on my highlight tape, college series here, gotta hear my name on draft day, AR in the pocket, automatic, that's a closed case, excitement.
Here they are, man.
I ain't been asleep in
AR in
3
the
days,
pocket.
gotta make a statement to the scouts on the first play, only way to win, you gotta dominate in each phase, offense, defense, and can't forget the special teams, I ain't worked for nothing, went through summer camp with 2-a-days, gotta win the natty, only satisfied with first place. I hear them haters hating on my team, but I ain't hearing them. If they line up on the other side, then we ain't fearing them. One false move, hit stick, defense killing them. Knew them boys were sweet, up inside, banana pilling them. We up next, time to show we the best around. RFL, college series, rep your team and rep your town. You're looking at the future of the league, yeah, it's here and now. Step on the field, boy, you best believe it's going down. Cause yeah, you know we scoring. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Touchdown, 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 touchdown.